I'll be honest, I kind of hate gimbals. Being a more hybrid photo video shooter, I tend to just kind of leave them at home because I'm already carrying enough stuff as it is, and I personally find that they're a little bit cumbersome and get in the way and hinder my creative process more than they help. So when the folks over at Zhiyun reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try out their new Weebill 2, I thought to myself, wait, why me? But I did end up giving it a chance, and it surprisingly solves basically every issue that I have with gimbals, to the point where I might even call it the best gimbal ever. Let me explain. Yo, sup squad, welcome on into the channel. My name is Kyle Meshna. I'm a landscape photographer and YouTuber based here in San Francisco, California. If this is your first time joining us, welcome on in. Second or third time, you should probably hit subscribe already. Very quick disclaimer before we get started. Zhiyun did send me the Weebill 2 to make this review video, but they have no say in what I say, and there was no money exchanged. So one of the main reasons that I typically don't like using gimbals is that they're heavy and cumbersome and awkward to use over a long period of time. Whenever you're using a pistol grip gimbal, you basically have to keep your hands straight up and down in order to achieve the best stabilization. And what are you supposed to do in those moments when you're not filming? Just that little hip check thing? You know that hip check thing I'm talking about. And in those very common moments in which you're not filming directly at eye level, you have to either do flashlight mode, which reduces some of the stability, or you have to drop your hand so low that your back starts to hurt. But with the Weebill 2, much like its predecessor, the Weebill S, you do have that nice integrated back handle. This makes it an absolute dream for those lower angle shots, as well as just holding it while you're not shooting. Where the Weebill 2 improves upon the Weebill S is with the dedicated back handle with a quick release to allow for an easy breakdown, and it also ensures that it is very secure when filming. You've also got a cold shoe mount and a monitor mount on there for extra customization. The next reason that I really hate gimbals is that they do not travel well. Often you have to completely reset everything that you've done to balance the gimbal in order to get it to fold down. With the Weebill 2, you just simply set the locks, fold it up, and it's good to go. For some reason, gimbals also tend to come in this weird foam box. They don't really fit into anything else, so you end up just having to carry them separately. With the Weebill 2, however, you can put it into its nice carrying case, and that carrying case, first of all, has a lot of storage within it, and can fit into a standard carry-on, and I've been able to fit it into my travel backpack. All of this, plus the very small size and compact nature of the Weebill 2, makes it a pretty easy gimbal to travel with. Now, the third reason why up to this point I have really hated gimbals is that the controls and the menus and the apps that they use generally just suck. Typically, the promise of a gimbal is that you can pair it with an app and do all sorts of nice fancy things like calibrate it and do motion time lapses and all these things. But the apps themselves are super clunky and cumbersome, and you don't want to have to be sitting there pairing to your gimbal when trying to shoot and hold the gimbal with your phone. It's just a mess. With the Weebill 2, you now have an integrated touch screen right into the handle. It just swivels out and lets you both control the settings, adjust your camera, and also view what you're shooting. This is obviously one of the shining standout features of the Weebill 2, and while it isn't necessarily the most high res or largest screen, I found myself using it quite a lot, and I do think it is a very nice added touch. And the rest of the controls and ergonomics are quite nice as well. You've got the joystick right where your thumb naturally rests for easy use. The record button is easy to press, but it's also far enough away that you don't accidentally bump it. And you have a physical switch to change between the following modes, which I personally like quite a lot as well. The control wheel on the gimbal can also be customized using the integrated screen. Not only could you use it for something like a follow focus system, but you can also customize it to control things on your camera. So I personally set it to either aperture or ISO, which allowed for adjusting exposure smoothly as you change in a dynamic scene. My one complaint is that you can't really easily control it with the main hand like you can on something like the Weebill S, but as long as your fingers have some flexibility, you can probably reach it without too much problem. Now, a few other rapid fire quick things that you might be curious about. While it is a much smaller and compact gimbal, the motors are definitely plenty strong. I don't have a 1DX to balance on it, but I was able to balance a A7S III with a 100 to 400 G Master, which, I don't know, do you really need any much more than that? From a clearance perspective, you do have a nice bit of clearance between the top of the camera and the back arm of the gimbal. I don't think you'll have enough room to mount a mic, but if you were using something like the Rode Wireless Go, which I know a lot of people do, myself included, then that would probably suit your fancy just fine. Suit your fancy? Who says that? A quick note about the battery. On this Weebill 2, you cannot swap out the battery. It's just an internal battery that is charged with a USB-C. For myself personally, I always have a USB-C lying around, so that works for my workflow. But I know that a lot of folks, if they're filming for many, many, many hours on end, want to have that peace of mind that they can switch out the batteries. I have found that the battery life is still pretty decent. I didn't do any massive, extensive, rigorous testing, but I did notice that the battery life is a little bit lower when you're using the screen. So if you're doing a very long shoot, perhaps be wary about folding the screen in if you're not using it. And then finally, on the topic of pricing, Zhiyun has offered a few different pricing package options depending on how much it is that you need. They ranges from $549 to $1,099, depending on what you're looking for. I personally would probably opt for the Weebill 2 Pro package, but you can decide what it is that you want based off of the packages there. All in all, if you're looking for a compact yet powerful and super feature-rich gimbal that's actually finally, for once, fun to use and take with you, then I would probably say, yeah, the Weebill 2 is the one to go with, and it will probably be my gimbal of choice moving forward. So thanks so much for watching this video. Play thumb war with the like button. If you like this video, there's a couple of other ones popping up. I'd love it if you watch those next. Peace.